Hello, fourth graders. My name is Todd Frye. I'm director of Bonneville School of Sailing and Seamanship.
My name is Jim Daniels, and we are talking today about boats and about sailing.
We operate out of Utah Lake State Park here on Utah Lake, and we're going to do something a little different than we usually have in the past. We're going to actually take you out on the lake to experience sailing in this sloop. A sloop is a sailboat that has a mainsail and a jib. And we'd like to welcome you aboard. Into Thin Air is the name of my boat. So let's go out and have some fun out on the water.
First, we're going to talk about the parts of a boat. I'm up here in the front. This is the bow. The pointy end in the front of the boat is the bow. Then, as we go along, I'm going to go to the back of the boat, but the side of the boat here is the starboard side. The other side is the port side. Now we're going to go around to the back. This is the back end of the boat, or the stern. You call this flat portion the transom. On the transom is where the rudder is mounted. This is what the captain uses to steer the boat. Now I'm going to go around on this side. I'm over here on the port side of the boat, and I want to talk about some of the other parts of the boat. This is the cockpit. This is where the people sit. This is the deck. This is the gunwale. Below that, this is all hull.
Okay, gang, we're on board Into Thin Air right now. I'm sitting in the cockpit, but I'd like to take you down below and introduce you to the safety features of this boat. Those features would include a fire extinguisher, a first aid kit. All right, another safety feature that we have on our boat would be their personal flotation devices. We call them PFDs. These particular PFDs are nice to wear because they're not real cumbersome. They're not too hot when the summer comes along, but if we fall in the water, they inflate automatically, or we can pull down on these inflators, and it inflates with CO2 gas, and it keeps your head above water so you don't sink down. Jim has some other PFDs that he uses on his sailboats, and he'll introduce you to how those work.
There are 5 kinds of life vests. A type 1 is for ocean-going vessels. I don't have one of those. They're big, they're bulky, they're safe, but nobody wants to wear them unless they're out there and they're in real trouble. Type 2 is this. This is Eve. She's wearing type 2. Turn around so they can see. It has this thing in the back. These other 2 are type 3. Levi's is for a little kid. His is small, but it's also got an understrap. Type 4, Henry is going to show you. This is actually a cabin cushion that you can sit on, but if there's somebody out in the water, then you need to throw them a life vest. Henry will throw a life vest.
Okay, class, we're out on the water now, so we get to raise our mainsail and start sailing. We're raising the mainsail. So we just turned off the engine. It's very quiet out right now. You can hear the birds as they come overhead. You can hear the silence. It's a great sound. There are no boats as far as you can see, and that's usually the case out here. We have the boat the lake to ourselves. There's a lot of acres of water out here on Utah Lake. The first time I put a boat in here on Utah Lake, I came out alone, and just like we are now, it's very peaceful and quiet, so I brought a book out to read and enjoy the quiet and peace, relaxation. And out of nowhere, another boat came along, and it went past me. I thought kind of a little bit too close. I didn't know anybody at the time, but this person went on past, and I just thought that was strange. But I went back to reading my book, and 15 minutes later, this same person came back, and again he went fairly close to the boat, and I thought that's really odd that this person would do that. And I actually turned around and came back again, and so I put my book down and I said, that's it, let's go, we've got a race going. And I learned later that whenever you have two sailboats out on the lake, you've got yourself a race.
This is my homemade windsock. However, it functions very effectively as a windsock, and I know that the wind is blowing out of the northeast right now. Now, I have over here my grandson named Henry. He has an anemometer, and he's going to read, he points the anemometer in the direction of the wind, and then he can read the wind speed, 4.6 knots. Now you might wonder, what is a knot? Okay, we're going to talk about that next. Centuries ago, when sailors tried to position themselves in the globe, they had a hard time. So they devised the angles called latitude and longitude. Here's how it works. Here's the Earth, big globe. Here's the South Pole, here's the North Pole. The latitude measures how far you are from the equator. 90 degrees goes to the North Pole. Longitude measures around the other direction. Now, if you take 1 degree of latitude, 1 degree, out here on the surface of the Earth, and divide it by 60, you get a nautical mile.
Okay, so now that we've got our mainsail out, if we want to add yet more power to our rig to get the boat moving faster, we have to bring out our jib sail. And to do that, I've got a roller furler in the front, and it's fairly easy to do that from back here in the cockpit. One reason I like the roller furler is that it's very safe, because you can bring it out from back here in the cockpit. So I'm going to bring this out on the port side of the boat, and we're going to see if the boat starts to go a little faster. So I pull on one of the sheets and it starts coming out. Till it's all the way out, and now I have to do some trimming, and the boat's starting to move faster. I can look out at the water and see it starting to move. Sometimes you can hear the water gurgle on the bow. And now we're really sailing. We've got both sails out, and the boat's moving nicely through the water. Okay, what I'd like to demonstrate now is wind in our sails, and how if we want to get upwind, that we can actually tack this boat or zigzag upwind. And to do that, we have to make sure that everybody in our crew knows what's going to happen. So we really have to announce our maneuver nice and loud so that everybody can hear, and the crew has to answer back if they're ready to do the maneuver, and then we actually do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a tack. An attack is an upwind turn. We're going to turn about 90 degrees. And as the skipper, I've got my hand on the tiller, so I'm the skipper. I'll announce the tack as prepare to tack. And everybody that hears that in the crew will say ready about if they're holding on. And then I'll say tacking, and that's when the boat starts to move upwind. And you'll see the jib sail start to backwind, because we're going through the no sail zone now. I'm going to let that go. It's going to come to the other side of the boat, and now I'll just trim my sheets to this new side, and we'll keep doing this zigzagging upwind until we finally get up to the north end of the lake.
A sailor is constantly adjusting his sails so that they give the maximum effect and he can go the fastest. That is how you sail. And I hope some of you take the advantage and opportunity of sailing. It's a great sport. I started at age 12, and I've been sailing now for 60-some years.
Okay, another fun thing we like to teach, and it's an important thing we like to teach out on the water, is man overboard recovery. We're going to simulate a man overboard. So here goes. We'll go over the port side. Man overboard, prepare to tack. ready about, and tacking. We're going to come around and go back to the person in the water. Just like the tack we did before, we're going to maneuver the boat around, and usually we'll have an observer on the boat that's got his finger pointed at the person in the water, and he can talk to the skipper and tell him where the person is, and we're going to pick them up on that starboard side. Now we've just done a successful man overboard retrieval, and we're hove to. That means we've stopped the boat. The boat doesn't have brakes except for being hove to, which is what we are right now. The boat's not moving, and we can stop the boat even in a storm if you know how to use that. So there's so many wonderful aspects to sailing. It teaches you all about math. It teaches you about the stars. It teaches you about fluid dynamics, water, biology. It's a wonderful sport that you can branch off in so many different directions, but I'd highly recommend that you give sailing a try. It's if nothing else, it's beautiful and it's quiet and it's peaceful, and it's a great way to spend time with your family and to relax. And there's no better place than right here on Utah Lake.